Hello, social workers, mental health agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bass Moreno. Saludos a todos, greetings everybody, wherever you're tuning in, whether it be on YouTube or listening on whatever audio platform you choose to listen to the podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That's all one word. Follow the podcast at Social Work Rants. Again, that's all one word. Hit the like button, type in the Social Work Rants podcast on Facebook, aka Meta, and also hit the red subscribe button on YouTube. Just type in the Social Work Rants podcast. Hit the red subscribe button, tune in, tap in. Thank you everybody for supporting the podcast. I really truly appreciate it. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Bass City Entertainment LLC, your home for online holistic self-care featuring poetry and virtual Zumba classes. With the upcoming book, Trying Through Pain, How to Maximize Your Full Potential During Hard Times, coming this summer. Yeah, I keep having to push the book back. It's a work in progress. Self-publishing is no joke. My guest this time is a social worker in my just found out in my neighboring state in the beautiful state of Maryland. Is deceptively big, especially go especially
Yeah,
going especially going up the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Is like Maryland need to be two states going over that bridge.
really. I don't even go over the Chesapeake Bridge. I don't think I've gone. That's going sort of like Salisbury, right? Is
Yeah,
that what you mean
Salisbury and
going
then
up?
like further south. Yeah. Or
Never
north,
went that area.
depending where you're coming from. If you're coming from south, like DC, going up there. Samira Frank, uh,
Zamaria.
Samaria,
Zamaria.
uh,
Yep.
Samaria, my apologies, Samaria
And
Frank.
you know what? You can call me Z since I know people call you Baz, and I'm cool with that.
All right, cool. So, social worker in Maryland, a school social worker at that, and we're going to get into the nitty gritty of her experience in working as a school social worker. We winding down. Finally reached June, the end for some of us. The school year is over.
Hmm.
Congratulations for some of us. This school year is this week. Others is next week, and people like in New York still have till like the 28th, 26th,
Oh
28th, the end of
God.
the month. And I feel sorry for you guys back
I do too.
back home in New York, because it's been one hell of a school year, and I make no bones about it on the podcast or how hard this school year has been. For myself on a personal level, as well as what I'm seeing in the schools and teachers, and just everybody's just beyond burnt out. I think some of the kids are burnt out too. It's like we don't want to do any work anymore. But
Nope.
and while we still in a pandemic, and some cities are still flip flopping on mask mandates and all this stuff. So, Z, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's
No,
my first
no,
time getting on any type of podcast and talking really with any other fellow social workers that I don't work with. So this is actually a pretty interesting opportunity. So thanks for having me.
no. Of course, I'm glad we can make this happen. Let's get right into it. Let people know who you are and what you do in our wonderful yet interesting field of social work.
Okay, so like I said, I'm Zamaria Frank, and I am a licensed master social worker here in the state of Maryland and soon to be Arkansas because I will be moving very shortly. I am a school social worker for St. Mary's County School District, which is here in Southern Maryland. I serve two elementary schools in the south part of the county. And this is my first year as a social worker. This is my first year as a school social worker. So very green, very new, and just learning as I go. And it's been pretty interesting so far.
While being starting in the field, been thrown right into doing school social work while we still in a
And
pandemic.
you know what? Yeah, and you know what? I'm so thankful because I love working with children even before I entered the social work field. I knew I always wanted to work with children, especially the littles. And it was really interesting applying for the school social work job and dealing with that imposter syndrome because
Mhm.
I was so new to the field. I had no experience. And my supervisor, she actually told me after the fact, after she hired me, that I was the first social worker that she hired right out of grad school, newly licensed. She says she rarely does that. But I think the reason why she felt comfortable with hiring me is because my passion in the interview definitely showed through because that's all I had. Obviously, I had my license and my degree, but sometimes they have to find people that are perfect fit. So and yeah, like I said, this is honestly my dream job. If I can stay in school social work and just progress through my career, I'll be good.
No, that
So yeah,
that's great that you got this opportunity. That the supervisor saw something in you to give you this opportunity. How has it been for you? Like what are you seeing in the St. Mark's School District in Maryland, like, regarding the
St.
kids? Like
Mary's, and you don't
St.
have to
Mary's.
say the school district.
Okay.
St. Mary's, yeah. So with our program, me and a couple of other elementary school social workers were like the test group. So with me and my other coworkers, we didn't have a school social work program servicing elementary schools. So you know, my supervisor really had to work with us one on one to make sure that we're advertising, I guess you would say, our services to the schools, making sure we're building those relationships. But what I'm seeing with the kids is, I don't know with your position versus other school social workers, my position is focused on counseling. That's basically the main duty of my job. And I know some people they do different things like truancy court and all these other things that do impact students, but they're not working with students always one-on-one. But what I'm seeing with the kids, especially in the elementary school, is they're really struggling with regulating their emotions.
Hmm.
Um, Regardless of what type of things they're going through. Most of my kids that have been referred to me are third graders, and I don't know if you've seen that correlation, but yeah, most of my kids that were referred to me are third graders. And what I really appreciate about being a school social worker, especially working with the younger kids, there is a huge need for younger children to have counseling services. And I feel like even in my community and probably other communities, I feel like that need isn't really met. And that's why it's really important for us to have more social workers in the schools, especially the younger grade levels. So that's been the main thing that I've been seeing is struggling with emotional regulation and conflict management. A handful of my kids are really struggling with navigating those social situations. And I know with COVID that really impacted emotional regulation and social regulation for the kids. Like I've heard staff say multiple times that academically most of the kids are behind, but especially um, socially and behaviorally, like they're multiple years behind. At least that's what staff are saying, but I could see why they're making that correlation. So, but me providing counseling to these kids, like I said, I have very little experience. It was really interesting navigating, trying to navigate, not doing too much with worksheets or, not really letting the kids hyper focus on the toys and
Right.
play, but really trying to reach them. And like I said, I know you're a school social worker too, so you probably understand exactly what I'm saying. And it's been really interesting with me building relationships with the students, and I think I did pretty well with that. So it's
Yeah.
been it's been interesting for real.
What? So what grades? You mentioned third grade. What are the grades at the elementary school?
Oh, from pre-K to fifth grade.
Fifth grade, fifth
And
grade.
I've serviced students in all of the grades. Like I do have a couple of pre-K kindergartner kids on my caseload, so all the grades. But like I said, I've definitely had more referrals from third graders for some reason. And I know I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure there's something there with that age group, and like I said, having issues with emotional regulation and things like that. So it's very telling, I believe.
No, yeah, I definitely seen a lot of emotional dysregulation.
Mhm.
No, I definitely seen it more with the kindergarteners, the first
Yeah,
graders,
absolutely.
the fourth graders. No, I work with two sets of fourth graders in different schools. Just trying to have conversations because in the school district I work at, fourth it goes up to fourth grade. So fifth
Oh,
grade
okay.
starts middle school. So I'm like, you guys ready for middle
Oh,
school? And it's like they quickly changed the
no.
subject. It was like
No.
we're not having this conversation, Mr. Baz. Like, no, like, nope. It is just fascinating. It's like just have a conversation. Like how do you feel? Like I want to know like what are you guys feeling about? Are you excited, nervous? So the kids been like kind of together like the same class for a couple of years and went through the whole kind of COVID experience together, and now is like I'm not going. Am I going to see you? You going to the same middle school? Like pretty much most of them are going to the same middle school. So it's like,
Mhm.
y'all just not going to see each other for the summer. That's all. But you see each other in September. But it's like they don't want to hear that. It's like no, like, we not ready. Like we don't want to talk about it. It's not. We can talk about something having. Mr. Bass, do the skirty, do the gritty, like do something else. But we not doing like having this conversation, which is interesting. You
Yeah,
gotta
and
meet
it's
you gotta meet them where
interesting.
they at too. But it's like it's
Exactly.
graduation. Like you should be proud of yourself. You went through the whole pandemic. They all
Mhm.
online learning,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
made it. You should be very proud of yourself. And good kids, they just can't process that. They don't like
Mhm.
it's not in them. Like I don't know. What it is that, and you mentioned like COVID, I think played a huge part. Like I don't think we're not going to see
Mhm.
the real ramifications of how COVID really affected it. So
Yeah,
years down the
definitely.
line when we see some research about that, but it's definitely
Mhm.
I just see it.
And I didn't even think about the research that is going to come about, but it's interesting that you mentioned, having termination sessions with kids. And that is something that I brought up. Are you excited about going to the next grade? And a lot of them are nervous. And I asked them, I was like, is this kind of like that normal nervous, like when something new is coming up, like a new experience, or is it like you're freaking out? And most of them, it's just a little bit of nervousness. But yeah, they don't want to talk about going on to second grade or the other grades. And I think it's interesting that you said meet them where they are, and I think we should listen to them if they're like, I don't feel ready, like you said, just to really see where their head is at. Because I think just like adults, a lot of times we're really hard on ourselves. Like, I'll ask kids, what's something that you're proud of? What's something that you've done? And I don't know what it is with kids. And like I said, with all ages, it's been really hard, at least with my kids, for them to really find within themselves what they're proud of. And, sometimes we're in sessions, we don't want to like feed them the answer, but sometimes
Mm,
you have to, like, like I had a fifth grader and I was like, what are you proud of? And, before I asked that question, we are talking about getting ready for middle school. And I was like, there's something that I think that you should be proud of, but I want to see if you mention it. And yeah, that's something that I've seen with almost a lot of my kids. They're not really looking within themselves to see what greatness that they've achieved. Like you said, I haven't really mention a lot, to my kids about like how COVID impacted them, but I'm pretty sure that they know. But you mentioned pre-K and kindergartners, they're getting their socialization this school year, and they should have been getting socialization, in the previous school years, or getting
right.
more socialization at home, and parents, providing a social opportunity. So yeah, I think that, that kind of lag of, behavioral, emotional, social regulation, I would hope that they would catch up, but I think it's going to be hard because as mental health professionals, we're still learning how to navigate, providing services in person and especially with kids. So yeah, it's very interesting time to navigate providing counseling services not only to kids but also in a school setting.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and it's kind of like I'm for me it is. I'm like I don't know if I want to do this another year because it's so much
You
that the
talk about
schools.
school social work?
Yeah.
Oh, uh-oh.
um, but it is just so much that needs to the change, and there's so much
Mhm,
training that needs to be involved, like you touched on. Like there's so much more social emotional that needs to take
mhm,
place, like in the school system, and having like teachers and other administrators buy into that, and school districts to buy into that.
absolutely.
And I know this year, especially the OGs, the teachers that have been there like 20 plus years, and it's like, well, I gotta be the
Mhm.
therapist too, and is or teachers like see a kid misbehave, and they
Wearing
just
those multiple hats.
they don't want to be bothered, and it's like, well, the kid has every right to education as everybody else. Just find
Mhm.
something like to give them so you can still try to teach, or like figure something out, or there'll be a teacher and a teacher assistant in the classroom and you still calling for assistance, but like, well, you got there's two teachers there, like neither one of you can figure out something, like, so I don't know,
Yeah.
it was just a lot this year, and I know, like, I'm not trying to bash like the teachers, like it's just like a lot going on, a lot coming, it's like more training throughout the year, like really
Mhm,
the staff developments, like really go in hard and really provide some sort of education on social emotional well-being, or even just for the teachers and staff, like how are you doing? I know you guys are stressed out, well, let's do something for you
mhm,
guys, emotional well-being for teachers and staff, and then that really
mhm.
didn't happen too much this year, and everybody's on empty, like it's just like literally like
Mhm.
trying to make it to the finish line, and it's
Have y'all been counting down the days? Like I'll pass by staff in the hallway. I'll be like, 10 more
man,
days, 5 more days.
every day I've been counting down for like the past month, but that's
I
just
don't
me
blame
though.
you.
That's just
Yeah.
me. Like like I've been counting down. Like we had like spring break back in April, and then I was counting down from then. So
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely. And something I want to kind of like touch on is, like I said, I'm very new, I'm growing my competency, and I'll imagine probably even with you having those cases with kids that are having like the really deep, emotional issues that, and I, like I said, I don't know with you with, providing counseling. I know with my school district, we have like a 12-week counseling program, and, we can extend it for a little bit, but if for
mhm,
some reason that student continues to need services, refer them. But I've seen some kids come in my office that are, and, we don't wanna, well, at least with my license, I can't necessarily diagnose
mhm,
kids, but, you start to see, like, if a student has, like, symptoms of disruptive mood regulation disorder or oppositional defiant disorder or, those type of things, and, you try to refer them out to receive services, you bring this up to the parent, and, something that I've seen is sometimes parents don't have buy-in either, and then we start to wonder what is this going to look like for the student as they get older, and we see those issues are, we would hope would get better, but
mhm,
there's evidence showing that it's not. And yeah, I've seen some kids that are really going through it, and one particular kid, and because I'm sure you've probably seen like kids that come in your office, they're not responding to counseling services at all. And I've definitely
Yes.
had my handful. And even and there's even kids who, like one particular kid on my caseload who is receiving psychiatric services, receiving outpatient trauma therapy with an LCSW in me. And I've made so many attempts to reach out to this particular provider with permission from the parent to discuss what I'm seeing. I'm like, my services aren't very specific, but the student isn't responding. And to kind of connect with that provider, like, is there anything you're working in counseling? Is it something, is this the student responding to your services and maybe not mine? Crickets. Left multiple voicemails, obviously keeping confidentiality in the back of my mind. And I'm just like,
Right.
so what's going to happen with like I said, these kids that aren't responding to services? And I sometimes we want to do like what if, but yeah, some of those kids I really wonder how life is going to continue to go on for them, whether receiving services or not,
Right. Yeah, I've been.
especially in the school system too, because
Mm,
we know sometimes they're quick to put an IEP, or
mm.
with us they call 504. Like I said, I don't know what
Yeah,
difference
504.
states,
Yeah.
as I'm learning. um Even students receiving services for that and not really responding to in-school interventions, and it's just like, what else is there to do?
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've been doing this school counseling aspect as well. I was in another school district, and I had to do like home visits, and I had to do
okay, yeah.
the the truancy court stuff.
Mm-hmm,
I had
mm-hmm.
to do that too. I didn't have to do that this year. Just focus on the counseling aspect, I, and kids sometimes just don't want to talk. It's like, or they give the shrug, like, why? Why'd you do
Oh
that?
my gosh,
I can't stand the shrug.
I can't,
I
I
will.
can't.
We'll sit in silence like the whole time. Like, you don't want to say anything. All right. Like, I'll be on my computer like typing up a note for like, you're not wasting my
Exactly,
time, man.
before they even leave. And yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up because, when it comes to counseling, like, yeah, parents can give us permission, but if the student doesn't respond, we can't force them. And I've had one particular kid this year going through services, doing like the I don't know or I don't know. I'm just like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, asking them questions about themselves, like, what are things you like, asking questions about self-esteem and coping and stuff. And it got to the point, even as I'm going through the 12-week program, and I asked, this particular student, do you want to continue doing this? And the student was like, I'm being forced to come here and talk to you. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, no, you are not. And I make this very clear with each of my kids. We're going to come and talk about feelings or things going on with you. Is this something that you want to do? And most of my kids have said yes, but there have been some kids that have stonewalled me, and even kids who continue to come to services, to come into counseling, and not working on goals,
Right.
not trying to lessen the conflict, and writing those termination notes, students not responding. And yeah, I've been stonewalled a couple of times this year, and it took to a point where I didn't have to say, oh, it's a reflection on myself. It's just like you said, they don't want to respond to services, and they don't have to. So that's interesting too. But it's funny with those kids who don't respond to services, and especially like after you terminate them, they're not on your caseload. You continue to hear things that are going on with that particular kid, like continuing to have issues with attendance, get in trouble, like in fights or being disciplined. And it's just, it's kind of hard to say, oh, it's not my kid anymore. And obviously, we don't have that type of attitude, but it's just like, they're just going to continue to get shuffled along. So, yep,
Yeah.
it's a heavy job for real. But
No,
I
it
wouldn't
is.
change it in. I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. And that's how passionate that I am about the work that I do. And it's just those kids who you see that they really value the relationship they have with you, and they actually really, kind of listen to what you have to say, that it really makes it worth it, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. Like, I mean, I got kids that will literally come from recess having a good time, and as soon as they see me coming to come get them for a session, it's like their face expression quickly changes. Like, so
Do
I
they do
was
like,
like,
hey, hey,
it's like
hey,
you
are you
know,
getting me? Are you getting
yeah,
me? I have
the
kids
other
that are
kids,
like that.
the other kids was like, you gonna get me, Mr. Bass? You gonna get me? You gonna get? They fighting.
They
It's
say
like,
the same thing to me. They literally say the same thing to me. And I kind of have to be like the kids after a while, they know who we are and they know
yeah.
what we do. And it's just like, well, do you need to talk about some things that are going on with you, or do you need to talk to a counselor without really like, putting the student's business out there. But yeah,
Right.
no. And if sometimes they get too excited seeing us in the hallway, like pointing, you gonna get me. And some of the
Mm.
teachers like roll their eyes. I'm just like, when you see me in the hallway, just chill. You're in line, you're with your classmates. When I come and I tap you on your shoulder, I ask your teacher, can I take you? Then we're good. But don't get too excited. I know, and a lot of my kids would do that, and I'm just like, they don't get it. They're
like,
just like, oh, they're letting people know, like they talk to me, like, hey, hey, hey. And obviously the kids, the rest of the classmates, they don't really care. They're not thinking anything,
but
anything much of it.
I'll have the classmates be like, me, come take me, and the kid that I'm going to get is like, I don't want to go. So like, we don't gotta go. I'll just write like you refuse. Like that's it. Like you're not stressing
Yeah,
me out.
I've definitely had to put that
And then
on a couple of
one time
notes.
I actually grabbed somebody like, you always say something. Let me grab it. You want to talk? Let's talk. And just use me to play basketball for 5 minutes in the gym. I was like,
Exactly, to get out of class. And I feel like there was a couple, um in the beginning, like I said, students that weren't responding to services. I think I have one student in particular, a fifth grader, and after going through the 12 weeks and they're not responding, you like me pulling you out of class, huh? Obviously, I didn't tell them that, but so yeah. But I think
what's
us just
but
providing that safe space.
sometimes they if you know a kid after a while you have to like keep it real with them. Like you just like using this to get out of class. Like you don't want to talk. You just want to get out of class. Like,
Mhm.
but and I always try to be like cognizant of making sure like they're not missing like important like vital.
Exactly,
They
yeah.
do it like on their lunch period, even though they want to talk. They want
Mhm.
to talk to their friends or like in like a related or like an art class or like music or for some reason like especially my younger
Mhm.
ones like don't like art.
Like the specials, we call them
Yeah,
specials
yeah,
in our
we call
district.
them
Yeah.
specials too. Yeah, or
Okay.
music and like I'm like you don't like
Mhm.
music, like you don't like like art, like and I had a
Yeah.
couple kids who didn't like gym. I'm like gym is like the best part of the day besides lunch. How you
Yeah.
not like gym? And say so take them in those classes or like
Mhm.
I know you ride a bus and that bus is late every day. Okay, I'm taking you during dismissal time. You hang out with me until your bus come and we'll talk and
Mhm.
just trying to figure things out because every day is a different day and if I
Mhm.
look at that,
They do like the yes. And I'm like, why would you want to get out of that class? I don't like it anyways. It's boring. I'm just like, okay, okay, that's fine. But yeah, no, their eyes just glow when we come and pull them from class for some reason. No, we're about to go and talk about feelings and what's been going on with them, but
right.
they love it. Apparently, at
Or
least most of my kids do.
I got a kid who will literally get out of the seat to come run, give me a hug, and like I was like, teacher's about to start class. Like I just came in to say hi, good morning, make sure
I had
you.
a kid tell me yesterday, especially with it, no, telling them it's going to be a determination session. Oh, I love you, Miss Frank, and I'm just like, love you too, and just like go, and with boundaries. Like I've had a
Yeah,
couple of kids that have struggled with with boundaries, even though you set them, but you don't want to like be too I don't know, firm. But yeah, I have had some kids, like you said, they like just run up and hug. Like if they, do it in a good time, then yeah, I'll give them a hug.
Mm,
But some of them that kind of like take it too far, like saying, "Oh, I love you, Miss Frank." I'm just like, "Love you
yeah,
too." Therapeutic relationship. Love you too.
yeah. I had a first grader tell me like, "I love you, Mr. Bass." I was like, I don't like if we not family. Like I take those 3 words, "I love you," like I take it to heart. So
Hmm.
we not cool like that, or we not like like that. So like I'm like I didn't say it back. I just gave him like a big hug. Like, oh, it's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
you made my week saying that. So,
Hmm.
but I'm
And
not
I've
saying
had
it
a
back.
yeah. And I've had a couple kids since I told them that I'm engaged and I'm moving. They're like basically saying, "I don't like that. I don't like your fiance. Why can't he get a job here and you stay here? I don't want you to leave." I'm just like, listen, that's not how life works. Well, with our particular situation, but yeah, some of my kids, they were not having it, and like one kid got like really upset. They're like, "You just got here. You just started working here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you're already leaving." I'm just like, life happens. And one thing with that, my supervisor, because before my fiance moved, we were in a long distance relationship for over 3 years, and we've been together for 7. And I mentioned this with my supervisor, and she said she wasn't surprised that I was leaving so soon. She's like, "I had a feeling." I'm just like, "And you hired me too. Thank you for taking so many chances on me." But yeah, it was weird leaving so soon. But and actually I just applied, well, I interviewed and applied for 2 other school social work jobs in some areas that I'm moving to, and that's been interesting too. And then I know I mentioned like trying to get licensed in another state, and that's been a little bit of a headache, I'm not gonna lie. But
What's that process like?
yeah, so with me it was basically almost all the paperwork you had to have just to get your license. So testing scores, trans college transcripts, um trying to think what else. There was verification of licensure, and with Arkansas it was interesting. They wanted me to fill out like an actual paper form. And when I mentioned this to Maryland, they're like, "We don't do paper forms. All they basically have to do is just look at our directory and it's confirmed. It's straight from the board's website." And I reached out to Arkansas's board with this information. I'm like, "So how is this going to interfere with the process going forward?" Crickets. So, and the board actually meets next week, and I've been starting this process for about a couple of months. So trying to think what other paperwork, but yeah, the main stuff that we have to submit to get our license, basically submitting that same paperwork to the board going that I'm going to.
Is it,
So
this is why we need a national license, because these states are slow.
yes,
That I'm in
yes.
Delaware. Actually,
Hmm.
like the paperwork, like it took some time, but like just in general, like the state runs slow in terms of in terms of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually saw an article today somewhere, like the ball is rolling for a national license, and is just
Hmm.
gonna take time to do it. But stuff like this, like life happens, like your fiance got
Hmm.
travel and you got to move and your license and you need your stuff transferred.
I
And
needed to do the jobs that I'm applying for, especially since, their schools, they want to find someone and during the summer. So when it gets close to the school year, they'll have someone in mind. And it was interesting you mentioned that sometimes boards are slow. And I know that it really all depends on the state that you're in, because
mm,
after I passed my licensure, test here in Maryland, it was very quick that I was awarded my license. But again, before I even took my test, they already had all the necessary paperwork. It was just getting my scores.
Mm,
But but yeah, I definitely could see why, especially with transferring or verifying your license to be licensed in another state, then yeah, that I think that definitely takes some more time because
yeah,
we're out there, we're waiting on, then we can have everything we want and
yeah.
provide everything that we need, but it takes a month, 2 months, 3 months. And I've seen, especially with I believe people getting licensed during the pandemic, it was, I would imagine, very long process to get licensed.
Right, because everybody was working from home, so it was, state licenses offices were closed, so it's like it's going to be a process. But now everything's open up. Like hopefully people get what they need, and the process gets better, and definitely a whole national license definitely needs to happen it soon, because we can make
Yeah.
so much money, and like we don't even need like like if you want to work at a school, or you could come home and do Zoom or whatever, like on the
Mhm.
side, do some tutoring, and then the kid would be in a whole other state, and still be killing it and make this money.
Yeah, and it was funny that you mentioned, doing like national licensing. And actually, I've been in therapy. We suggest clients, go talk to someone. And as I was, having almost my last session with my therapist, and I was like, we're gonna have to terminate soon. She was like, why? I was like, because you're not licensed in the state that I'm going to. And she was like, you know what? You're right. And I'm just like, doesn't that suck? Because they want, we want that continuation of care. But
Mm,
for people like me and other people, they go to other states, you kind of have to start over again almost with someone new if you want to
right.
continue to get those services. And I think that is something interesting to think about. you know we're not, I don't think I would say as versatile, like you said, as we could be, just if we can be licensed in multiple states, or nationally, it would just open the door, I would believe, especially with those states where, there's not many social workers there, that there really is a need. We can try to offer services to those areas or the states that, need those type of services, more.
Well, now getting back to you working in the school.
Mhm.
I know for myself, working with kids and behaviors, and it's like I know when I
Mhm.
was a kid, like somebody did something, like you tear up somebody's office, like throw everything down and tore up to the floor up. You're not coming to school the next day. Not I seen this
Oh,
year,
I know exactly what you're talking
and
about.
then I've had a couple instances that a kid come the next day like nothing happened, and I'm like, really? Have you
Uh-huh.
seen
You
have
and
you
I
seen any of that stuff this year?
Yeah, so I know, at least especially with the younger kids in the elementary schools, like, suspending them and stuff like that, that's really not heard of. So it's kind of like, let's say the kid had a really rough day behaviorally, and the parent comes to pick them up, and they ask, "Oh, is my child suspended?" Admin's like, "No," but it's kind of like that unspoken, like if they really had like a really rough day, then kind of give them that break. But as far as like, I haven't had any kids really come in. Actually, you were mentioning, like, has anybody came in like destroyed your office? Is that what you were talking about?
Not necessarily my office, but just like anybody's office, or just like somebody who
Yeah.
did something that you would think
Mhm.
would warrant a suspension, even if it's like an in-school
Yeah.
suspension or something more
Mhm.
severe. I don't know what. be more severe than a school
Yeah.
suspension, but warrant something like that, and just literally there was no consequence.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's been a couple of kids that, while they're on my caseload or even before, they're having, like, again, those issues with emotional regulation, like, destroying class property, running in the hallways, just walking out and leaving class.
Mhm.
And like
Anybody
you
leave the
said,
school
especially,
building?
I think, well, let me think. I think there's been a couple of times where I was outside trying to pull a kid and they're yeah, I'm pretty sure my memory is not always that good, but there's been some very interesting, like, rounding up a kid or two. And there's been some times where some kids have said like some not so nice things. Like I had one kid, I came to school, had my makeup done, lashes and all that. And this one kid had the nerve to say, "You look like a clown." And he said it more than once. And in my head, I'm just like, if only you knew. Out here in these streets, ain't no man saying I look like a clown. But those boys are like, "Oh, you're like," like they pull the girl's hair and all that other stuff. But yeah, no, some kids they've said like, call us like those mean names, may not call us out our name. They
Mhm.
say some things that aren't so nice. And I've had a
Yes.
couple boys actually do that or say that.
Mhm.
Again, having those issues with like disruptive mood or oppositional defiant. I've seen that happen with some of those boys that struggle with that, not respecting authority and all that. But yeah, I haven't gotten beaten up by a kid,
Oh, lucky you.
thankfully. Not knock on wood somewhere, but I had one of my school's assistant principal. I think something happened with her wrist, and it was because of a student. And I think I did have an interaction with one of my kids that I was trying to help calm down, but it was a matter of safety and,
Mm,
kind of fight me off, not like
right.
hit me to the point where they're harming me. But I'm just like, it's hard for them, especially in the moment. There's adults out here that don't know how to regulate their emotions. So,
No, of course.
and we sometimes we want to expect more out of the kids, but sometimes there's some of them that type of stuff is just it's not coming naturally to them. Their nervous system won't let them. So,
No, no, yeah, it's really sad. Like for me, I noticed like the kindergartners were really like I mentioned
mhm.
on the podcast before. Like these kindergartners, and they came in and it's like flipping chairs, flipping tables, punching,
Yes.
kicking,
Pre-K
spitting.
kindergarten, first grade, definitely. I have a
Let's see,
couple, like I
first
said,
grade, yes,
boys,
yes,
again, making inappropriate comments or gestures, you know, hurting other students, hurting staff. And those are those kids where it's like they're gonna need something more than what folks like me and you can provide in the
yeah.
school. You know, but yeah, it's yeah.
And it poses no situation with you like you got to protect yourself, like you're like
Mhm.
not only just like license wise, but you literally physically gotta like protect yourself and like chasing kids down, and it's like
Mhm.
it's just a lot, which is why I see more and more like stuff online about teachers like early retirement. I saw something in North Carolina
Mhm.
about like 7,000 teachers are like quitting the profession, and like
In North
this year,
Carolina alone?
yeah,
Wow.
by the end of this year, and th-
And to
and
be
that's not
honest, I
including
don't blame them.
and
I
that's not
really don't.
including
I don't blame
that's not
them.
including teachers who are retiring. These are just like
Wow. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like this
I
year
don't blame
alone.
them.
No, I don't either. No,
And it's sad. We need them. We need teachers in the classrooms.
no, of
The kids
course.
need them, and they're not valued. I know we can say social workers aren't valued, but there's a lot of us
It's
that. or in that helping profession, including teachers and
mm,
nurses and paras and
mm,
all these other professions that work with the kids, not only just in the schools when that they're not being
it's
valued
it's
by admin, by parents, by students, just all around.
yeah. I mean, it's funny because when the pandemic first started and everybody was forced to go to virtual, we were like, parents like myself had to be like the kids' teachers, and like and
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Oh my God, let's envy the teachers!" And literally in a matter of 2 years, we back to like shitting on the teachers again, and it's like it's not fair to them, and
Hmm.
it's like, and
No.
they're not getting support from their like administrators, so it's like who can they get
Mhm.
support from? So it's like, I envy like every single teacher and being in the school building day in and day out and really see like, I see the teachers' faces like we're done. I'm done. Like I'm counting down, like
Mhm.
counting down in the school year. Like that's it. It was a wrap, and it's, I give them
Mhm.
all the credit, and they took taking away like prep time, like stuff that they could be doing or they're used to doing. If you know a seasoned teacher, and it's
Mhm.
like, it's just a lot that's going on, and trying to become like therapists is like I need assistance, and it's like
Mhm.
myself trying to like I'm new to the school system myself. Like I'm expected to try to
Mhm.
give teachers resources about emotional regulation,
Yes.
and it's like I'm learning, trying to learn the skills myself. Like I don't have anything. Like
Mhm.
I could go, we go
Yeah.
outside and have them play for a little bit, or go play some basketball and in the gym if there's not a class in there, try to burn some of this energy out. But like I ain't got
Mhm.
like Kanye said, Sway don't got the answers. Like I don't got the answers.
I
Like
don't got the
I
answers. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of us don't. I feel like we're just taking it day by day. And something that I've heard with some of the teachers, they're going back, some of the teachers I met, they're going back and getting their masters. And I think like higher education, I don't know if you heard talk with some of the teachers and when they're getting like those, no, it's educational leadership. And I don't know when they get those type of master's degrees what they're trying to do, but they're like, I'm trying to make more money. I'm just like, I don't blame you. And
mm,
it's crazy, like sometimes we have to continue to go back to school to get that higher pay when we have the experience and the education already. So, and then they're going to school and getting their masters, but then they're trying to, manage their time in the classroom. But it's just
right.
like, I either stay with this lower paying salary or go to school for a couple years and maybe get a higher parent salary, like, got to make some tough choices. But
No, no, absolutely. It's like I don't get paid enough to be hit or like
no.
be spat at or being cursed out
Yeah.
or anything like that. So
And
it's
see, and I don't know about going to like high school. I mean, if I have to, I mean, they're still kids too. But I know once they get older, they they start to come at you a little different, especially when something's going on that they don't really like it. Like you said, like getting spat on. Like I know elementary kids can like spit and hurt adults, but I feel like some of those older kids, like they a little bit, they want to jump
right.
and they want to try it. So yeah, definitely.
So so Arkansas, like what, like, I know you said your fiance is out there, like your,
Hmm.
Maryland to Arkansas is it's a big jump. I don't know anything about Arkansas other than like President Clinton was from from there. He was governor back in the 90s. Like,
Yeah, I don't know much about the area either, and actually, where we'll be moving to, we're still kind of a little bit close to some of our family, but I applied for one of the school district is Pine Bluff, and I'm not sure if you're aware of Pine Bluff as a community. Unfortunately, there's a lot of violence
mm,
and in poverty. most of the population is African American, which we know that a lot of times with those communities that there's higher violence and crime and stuff,
Right.
higher poverty, there's that correlation
Yeah, of course, it's like
and
systemic like racism, and
yeah. Hmm.
you just see it like every day, like
Even
with the.
before I get there, I'm already seeing it. And something that me and my fiance have had to talk more about is because of the area that we're going to, we're not familiar and protecting ourselves.
Mhm.
So now, and I'm not used to that. And that's something I never really considered. But, like you said, like, how are you going to protect yourself, if nobody's around or, um, so that's something interesting because being here or in my hometown in Texas, I didn't have to worry about having a weapon to protect me or to feel safe, but having those type of conversations and looking into what that would look like. And so, but yeah, like you said, there's a lot of systemic racism in communities like Pine Bluff, and it's so apparent, but it's just crazy that there's people around us that can just act like that doesn't exist in these certain communities because it doesn't impact them, or they don't work in a profession where they may be, um, have interactions with those type of communities, um, and I feel like with those type of conversations, I feel like it's more like people of color, like we're more open to have those conversations, but I feel like for those that aren't, I don't feel like, you can really sit there and have a conversation about things like systemic racism and poverty that impact other communities. You know, like I had a conversation about my dentist about that, but my dentist was, a black man, and there's just, you know, having those conversations, as they say, like in mixed company, but I
Mhm.
feel like it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
I feel like those conversations we should be able to have
That's
together, but
right.
having to be like politically
Correct. Yeah.
politically correct. And something that just came in the back of my mind, and tell me if you've had this experience. I applied for a school district in Arkansas, and they're reaching out to my references asking if there's anything in my history on a personal level or professional level that can make their district look bad, like asking about, things that maybe I've posted on social media, any activism that I've done, anything like basically trying to see if I have any dirt in my past. And it's just like, that's what a background check is for. That's what a social media check is
Mhm.
for, which I think that that's going a little bit too far. But my references is like basically saying it was making them feel uncomfortable. Like, you're asking things about this person I don't know.
Right.
Like, she's professional, like trying to bring it back to like, my ability to do my job, but they're still like, they told me in the interview they're going to do a deep background check. And I'm just like, is that going to include you hammering down on my references? Like, I work in a school district now. If I'm qualified enough and competent enough to work in my school district I'm in now, and there wasn't anything in my history
Right.
that didn't raise any alarms, like, and I was wondering why this school district kept saying, "Oh, we're going to do a deep background check," and I looked to see that there's some things that happen with like their higher administration, where some things were going on with staff that should have been addressed like in a disciplinary action, and apparently it wasn't. So I guess they're trying to make sure that they keep their nose clean, but
No,
hmm.
that's BS that they doing all that. Like it's
And it's just like, and and with that, I don't get really personable or political, given, and I was talking to one of my principals, like, we have that First Amendment, that amendment right, but it's like, you know, early on, like my parents were like, be careful with what you post on social media and things like that because it could come and bite you, in the future. And I'm glad I listened to that because, but yeah, that just made me feel really awkward. And it's just like, is that going to be a district that maybe I would want to service? I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. Like they feel like they have to. I feel like overcompensate just to save skin, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's like the BS that it doesn't get talked about. Like you're just applying for a job, then if you're already working in a school district, like what difference does it make you working? You're
It's not
applying for
gonna come
another
up
school.
with the if my FBI background checked, or like I said with my social media, it's it's private, but we've seen stories in the media of folks that do work for school districts that, social media posts and such are getting them fired.
Mm,
Now, given people are sharing things that, you know, kind of are outlandish, yeah, but I don't have anything like that in my history, but try not to take it personal. Y'all not gonna find no dirt on me. So, but but yeah, no, it's an interesting time we're in social media, but even if your page is private, there's people, it's kind of all out there for everyone to see. It's
right.
almost like we don't really have as much privacy as we think we do, even if we have our accounts to private. So,
Mm, yeah, it's an interesting time that we live, in general with just social media and political aspects and just everything pandemic and which people seem like to forget that we still in and it's just a lot. And we just all tired and we have uh you know racism going on and you know stuff unarmed black men and women being killed like on a daily
mhm,
basis and
mhm.
it's just like there's a laundry list. We got war Ukraine and that's like affecting
Yeah,
like
it's a lot going on. Yeah.
affecting stuff and potential invasion of China but on Taiwan that might be happening soon. So people don't seem to talk
Oh
about
wow.
that. So there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, I don't know
Inflation.
about you. Yeah, when it comes to like all like the news, like we hear that stuff eventually, but I don't know about you. I'm not glued to the news. I'm gonna find out about it some way or another because I'll be one of those people that that type of stuff going on in the world. It can hit heavy. It can keep you up at night. I know there was points in time where things were getting really rough, not only here in the U.S. but other parts in the world.
Mm,
Especially with social workers, we're supposed to be change agents, and we're in a profession where we're not really being supported to be change agent. There is a social worker that I saw that that definitely speaks out a lot about the social work profession and organizations that are, supposed to, represent us. And it's just interesting, it's not a perfect profession, like just like with other systems, it's not always gonna I want to say this, like it's not always going to benefit everybody. And there's changes, all these systems, there's always room for change. But yeah, no, there's been some fellow social workers that definitely have spoken out about just this their profession, just like their whole profession of their own. I'm like, interesting perspective. I see what you're saying, but interesting perspective. But
shoot,
yeah.
we got a social worker, and the senator in Arizona, Miss Kristen Sinema, always voting a lot of the times against basically the values of social work in voting history. So it's like, it's we unfortunately we
They
got those
get
people in the
voted in there.
profession.
They get voted in there.
Yeah, so it's an interesting time
Yeah.
that we live in. Like I know I just watch like the weather and maybe a tiny bit of news, and then that's it. Usually I get my news on Twitter or on Instagram, and I watch. Try
Yeah.
not to watch the news anymore. Just the weather, and boom, that's it.
Because it could be draining.
No, it
It could be
can't.
draining.
Mm.
Definitely. Yeah. Yep.
But where
So
could people?
how's terminating your kids going? Wait, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. We can talk. We can talk quick about about termination.
Mhm.
Letting kids know, and the kids was like, okay, like, so, like I don't
Mhm.
think it's gonna hit them until maybe like next week. Like, it's like, hey, no, it's our last week with the kid. No,
Mhm.
seeing you, like that's it. Like, I'm gonna be closing the case. I was like, all right. So, like, do you learn anything from the treatment? Like, some they'll tell me what they
There's those
learned,
questions, those lasting impressions. Yeah.
and
There's
then
been some of my kids.
other kids was like, learn this, and that's it. Like, they come and just to get out of class,
Mhm.
and that's it. They majority of the times they like willing to come with me, and
Mhm.
we'll talk, we'll play, like, or there are times are like, we're just gonna shoot some hoops, and I'll figure out how to do the note later.
Mhm.
Somehow make it clinical, and that's it. Like, I don't got it today. Just go shoot some
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, like you were saying, like, oh, what did you learn? And some of them, I feel like those are some kind of like heavy questions to ask, especially like the littles. Like, I feel like they know kind of like what they learned, but just kind of like vocalizing it. Like I've had them say like, how to help calm myself down when I get upset, or I'll ask them, what is something that they learned from our time together, and some of my kids would, I had one kid today that said nothing. I'm just like, yeah, you didn't, because in my head, because you weren't responding. And um, what's funny is like, there would be the question like, what did you like most about coming in for sessions? And a lot of my kids would say, playing with the therapy putty. I'm just like, some of them would say, I just like talking to you, Miss Frank, and all that. But it's something about that, those little toys and stuff,
Hmm.
in the office. And my office has actually been pretty minimalist. I have like the putty, and all those other like sensory things, but I don't put too much in my office because the sensory stuff, it keeps them occupied. I don't need to
Right.
have a whole like playground in my office like some people try to do. I feel like that's like overcompensating.
Yeah. Yeah, like those type of offices, that's the reward. Like, you behave, you get to go to
Hmm.
this office and play, and it's not because you like need a break from class, or like, can I get a
Hmm.
break? And it's like, if I hear one more person that's for a break,
Hmm.
is like, you just had recess, so I need a break. Or
Hmm.
kids walk
How
in,
is mhm.
have breakfast, and like, right as soon as they see a piece of paper on the table, it's like, I need a break. Like
Mhm.
it's not even 9 o'clock yet. Do some damn work.
Yeah. Have you been doing more crisis assessments? This is something that I've got really acclimated to, even with working with the littles. I haven't done that many crisis assessments, but do you have any experience with doing those frequently with your
I like
students?
the beginning, at the beginning of the school year, I just a couple kids kids I had to do some sort of crisis stuff, but not most of it is just like behavior, and there's
Mhm.
like threats here and there, even though, like, like, we have to take it serious, even though like the kid is just
Mhm.
talking the talk, like, I know
Mhm.
you're not going to do nothing, but we still got to check your bag, and do the proper protocols, like you just talk.
Mhm.
The kid's just talking out of their ass, like, it's just, it is like, you
Yeah.
still gotta, like, dot our I's, cross the T's, and like
Mm-hmm.
do the whole sort of like protocol. Do you really like? Do you have a plan on doing this? How you gonna do this
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that? Yeah, I had to do one this this week. I'm like really you gonna give me extra work for the last week? Like I, but
Mm-hmm.
no, I gotta do what I gotta do. But it's it's not didn't have to do those as much as I thought I would have to
Mm-hmm.
do. But definitely like you mentioned like the very beginning, like the emotional regulation, like
Mm-hmm.
kids have like feel have all these feelings and they don't know how to express it and like you can give them like drawings, you can like
Mm-hmm.
write write on the whiteboard, like write like
Mm-hmm.
give them different tools or like we play some music in the background or play some basketball like while we talking and try to get different activities. The cute poppets, like play with the fingers, like fidgeting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or I had slime, like give them some slime and then like have them try to talk, whatever, and then still like nothing popped up. I like, all right, I use all my tool my toolbox. Like you're not gonna talk,
Yeah.
then it's not happening today. But is it
Yeah.
was definitely hard, definitely a challenge, this year um, with the kiddos,
Mhm.
but
And the main reason why I brought up doing crisis assessments is something else, like I was talking about with emotional regulation. A lot of times kids are saying like they want to die, they want to, as we say, unalive themselves and all those things. And when you go and do those crisis assessments, they don't really have any intent, they don't really have a plan, but they're like, I'm just feeling sad, I'm just feeling upset. They will be quick to say those type of things when once you ask them, they don't really mean it. And that again shows an inclination that they're struggling with emotional regulation because the last
mm,
thing you would think a kid would say if they're frustrated or if they didn't get their way is that they're gonna hurt themselves.
right.
So with most of the time, really all of the risk assessments I've personally done, they've been low. And there's been a couple of kids where we had to do those type of assessments on them multiple times. But um, so yeah, it's hearing kids say that, especially in sessions, it is pretty nerve wracking. And just we know we have to stop it what we're doing on the spot if a kid comes in and says like they're in crisis or if they're in session in crisis. And I definitely make sure I take those, and I know most people do take those type of things seriously, like doing the crisis assessments and being really thorough. Because I've seen other people like admin or school counselors that do those assessments, and they'll be like really straight to the point, but it's like I have like a actual series of questions that I ask that help get to like the really like the nitty gritty, like the deep things. And I feel like with even with crisis assessments, we should all be on the same page. And I feel like sometimes we're not even on the same page when it comes to that either.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I experienced that at the beginning of the school year too. So it's just working in the school is just interesting, fascinating. Like I think my mom used to work as a paraprofessional for 15 years, so I
mhm,
thought of her like all like it's like I look at this guy like how you did 15 years because
mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
like
I saw
year
you
one
post about your mom.
and it's
Yeah.
like it's hard.
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely.
So where can people find you, reach you?
I'm on Instagram. Like I said, and I've seen a lot of social workers, they, they make their profiles professional. So mine isn't. So my Instagram name is ZEMARIA underscore XOXO. And my page is private. So, and I do kind of like look to see who's adding me, like if it's a spam account and I want to accept it. So as far as like social media goes, that's what I have. I haven't really, really utilized social media for like professional purposes. So it's just for me, it's just social for
Gotcha.
now. For now. So yeah, that's about it. Nothing on really YouTube or Facebook, that type of stuff. So, and I do like following other social workers or professionals on social media. So, if other social workers want to add me on there, I'll definitely engage with people in that way.
What one last question? What do you do? Feel like self care is like this big buzzword now, but what do you do to you leave work? It's Friday. It's Friday. Got the weekend to yourself. Like, what do you do to re-energize yourself?
Well, I actually have issues with regenerizing myself because I have chronic fatigue. I had that before I even got into the profession, but definitely just coming home, laying down, and hanging out with my dogs. I am a dog person, and that is definitely a way that I self care. Hanging out with my family, getting my hair, my nails done, that type of superficial self care stuff. But yeah, definitely as a new social worker, I did have to, make sure that I made an intentional effort to, like you said, it's the weekend or the day after work, the kids will be okay, hopefully. Because there was one point where I had some kids on my caseload that I know were really struggling, and it was hard to leave them at the school and, like you said, enjoy my weekend. So, you know, just hang out with my pets and get on social media, watch shows and all that type of stuff, like the superficial level self-care stuff is usually what I do. And go into therapy. That's definitely my self-care too.
No, that's important to do that. Know for yourself, and you know, I commend you, for that.
Hmm. Yep. What do you do for self-care?
Oh man.
Got put on the
Peace,
spot.
P, playing a places PlayStation 4, like for video games. The gym
You sound like my
was a big
fiance.
uh, hanging out with my fiance, hanging out with
Yep,
the
yep.
kiddos. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I was going to the gym quite a bit, but after that, when the mask first got lifted, I was like, went to the gym for a couple of weeks. So like, I stopped going. So I need to get back to the gym. I need to try to get back
Hmm.
to January 2020. I need to get this body back to the January 2020 shape.
Have you heard the meme where it's like, I don't know anybody's small waist. I'm gonna serve up these dinner rolls. That's the type of attitude I've been having, to be honest.
Now,
Summer's gonna get this body that I got.
my, my fiance like me for exactly how I am, but I like to.
A
I need to lose
yes.
just for me to. 'Cause I want to be
Hmm.
around a little longer. So
Hmm.
even though the
Yeah.
doctor, my blood levels are checked, got my physical. So men, please go get checked out. Got my physical. Everything came out good. I'm just
Hmm.
like overweight, which I already knew that. So
Self
I don't
care.
know. But
Self care. Finding time during the
yeah,
work week to go to the doctor because we work for the
yeah,
schools, and sometimes we have to get time off of work
yes,
just to go to the doctor.
yes.
So yeah.
And even the PTO they give is still not enough. That just because we have all these holidays, it's still not
Hmm.
enough. So
Hmm. Yeah. No. Definitely.
especially in COVID eras, that the doctor's appointments are few and far between, and doctors are just now getting into a routine of having regular like appointments available. So, um, besides that, like, I mean, I try to do like I wrote a book that's coming out,
Yeah.
working on that
Your poetry book.
to finish that
Shameless
up.
plug.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
This summer, I'll be busy editing a chapter for Latinx and Social Work Volume 2, a book coming out in October.
Okay.
So I'll be busy with
Busy.
that. I'll be in the
Not
gym.
really having a summer off, it sounds like.
it
For the
was
most part,
it
but yeah,
was
you'll still be working.
yeah, I'll be working a little bit, working for myself this summer while
Hmm.
looking for work too.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, pleasure having you on the podcast. By all
Yes,
means,
sir.
if
Thank
you
you.
good luck in your move to Arkansas.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Um, and by any means, like you have an ally in me. Like anything pop up, I'm an email or a DM away.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
All right. You too. Bye.